Everyone in the restaurant feared the rude millionaire until the new black waitress finally stood up to him. The forks gleamed like silver lightning. The wine glasses shimmered under the soft glow of chandeliers, and the silence between tables was sharp enough to cut. That was how things always were at Le Bon Repas, the city's most prestigious restaurant, until the moment Mr. Sterling Ward stepped inside. When he entered, the silence turned to tension, thick, breath-holding fear. He wore a deep crimson suit, a silk tie patterned like wealth itself, and a smug expression that clung to his face like expensive cologne. At 52, Sterling Ward wasn't just wealthy. He was feared. He had built his fortune in commercial real estate and ruined more lives than contracts. His name adorned buildings. His phone calls could end careers. His tips were insults. His complaints? Endless. He never made reservations. Never said please. Never finished a meal without belittling someone first. And the staff? They bent, bowed, and broke beneath his gaze. Until tonight. A new face stepped onto the dining floor. Zariah, 30, confident, composed, with deep brown skin and eyes like polished stone. She wore a crisp white blouse tucked neatly into a navy skirt, her posture ruler straight. It was her first shift at Le Bon Repas. The other waiters moved fast to warn her. "Table 5, one whispered urgently. "That's Mr. Ward. Don't mess up his order. Don't talk back. Just smile and survive." Zariah raised an eyebrow. "I've waited tables since I was 19. What's he going to do, bite me?" But their faces told her this wasn't about customer service. This was survival. She approached his table. Sterling didn't even glance up. "I want the filet," he muttered, eyes glued to his phone. "Medium. And if it's overcooked like last time, I swear I'll make someone cry again." Zariah blinked. "Noted." That made him look up. His gaze sharpened. "No, yes, sir?" he asked, clicking his tongue. "You people never last long." Her lips tightened. "Excuse me?" "Don't get emotional," he scoffed. "Just bring the food and keep quiet." Zariah turned, fists clenched, heels clicking back toward the kitchen. She said nothing. Not yet. A few minutes later, she returned with his wine. He took one sip, spat it back into the glass, and slammed it down. "Are you stupid or just blind?" he barked. The room froze. Sterling jabbed a finger at the bottle. "This is Syrah. I asked for Malbec. Do you even know the difference?" Zariah swallowed hard. "You pointed to that bottle. It's Syrah. I tried to confirm with you." "Don't argue with me," he snapped, loud enough for the entire room to turn. "I've had dogs that listen better than you." Diners nearby stopped eating. A man across the room shook his head. A couple leaned in, whispering. Zariah stood still, her cheeks burning. Not with shame, but with something far stronger. Sterling grinned, and then, just as Zariah turned to walk away, he threw the wine glass. It smashed against the edge of the table, red wine splattering across her white shirt. The glass shattered on the floor. Gasps echoed through the restaurant. Cutlery froze midair. A baby somewhere began to cry. Zariah stood there, soaked, humiliated, breathing hard through clenched teeth. "I'll be expecting a refund," Sterling said coldly, waving a dismissive hand. "And a manager. You're finished." Zariah stared at him. Then slowly, deliberately, she stepped forward, one hand on her hip, the other pointing straight at his smug face. "You're right," she said, voice calm but loud enough to carry across the dining room. "I am done." His smirk flickered. "I've cleaned up after men like you my whole life. Men who think their money gives them permission to trample on people's dignity. You break others because you're broken. You humiliate staff to feel powerful. But the truth is, you've never earned respect, only bought fear. Sterling's jaw hung open. All around, the waitstaff stood frozen. Diners stared in stunned silence. But Zariah wasn't finished. I'm not afraid of you, Mr. Ward. I've been homeless. I've worked 3 jobs at once. I've watched my mother scrub hospital floors at midnight and still come home smiling. So no, I won't let some overgrown man in a suit throwing tantrums over wine make me feel small. Just then, Jonas, the manager, rushed in from the kitchen out of breath. Zariah, what's happening? Sterling stood abruptly, his voice rising. This waitress just insulted me. Fire her, now. Jonas hesitated, glancing from the furious millionaire to Zariah, standing soaked but steady, trembling slightly, yet eyes burning with something unshakable. Pride. I'll get the owner, Jonas muttered. Sterling smirked, folding his arms. Please do. Zariah didn't flinch, because what none of them knew was that the owner had already seen everything. Sterling leaned back, smug as ever, assuming victory was just seconds away. You'll be out of here before dessert, girl, he sneered loudly for the whole room to hear. Hope you're good at scrubbing sidewalks. Zariah stood still, her chest rising and falling, the wine soaking through her white blouse, but her eyes never left his. The dining room was utterly silent. Conversations had evaporated. Some guests stared in awe, others in quiet shame. A few had even started recording, their phones raised discreetly. Then a deep voice echoed from across the room. I think that's enough. Heads turned. From a corner table, a tall man with salt and pepper hair stepped forward. He wore a simple gray blazer, no tie, and a calm expression that carried weight. His presence alone silenced even Sterling. It was Mr. Roland Hale, the owner of Le Bon Repas. Zariah's back straightened. Jonas, the manager, swallowed hard. Mr. Hale, he began. Sterling let out a nervous laugh. Finally, thank God someone reasonable is here. Roland approached the table, glanced at the shattered wineglass on the floor, then at the red stain on Zariah's shirt. His voice was calm, almost too calm. Mr. Ward, he said slowly, I watched this entire scene unfold, from the moment you walked through the door. Sterling's face twitched. Then you saw how she disrespected me. No, Roland interrupted. I saw you humiliate her, repeatedly, deliberately, publicly, just like you've done with nearly every server who's ever waited on you in this restaurant. Murmurs rippled through the room. Sterling blinked. Excuse me? I've tolerated your behavior for far too long, Roland continued, because of your money, your status, your name. But not anymore. He turned to Zariah. You, on the other hand, spoke the kind of truth this place has needed for years. Zariah's breath caught. Sterling's fists clenched. You're siding with her? A waitress who insulted a paying customer in front of the entire restaurant? No, Roland said firmly. I'm siding with dignity. He turned to address the entire dining room. I started this place with nothing but a borrowed checkbook and my grandmother's recipes. I never intended it to become a playground for people who use their wealth to degrade the very people who serve them. Then he faced Jonas. Promote Zariah to floor manager, effective immediately. Gasps echoed around the room. Sterling stepped forward, eyes wide. Are you firing me as a customer? Roland nodded once. Yes, you're banned. You can't do that, Sterling barked. I can, Roland replied, and I just did. Sterling stood there, stunned, his mouth opening and closing, no words coming out. No one stepped in. Not the staff who used to scramble to refill his glass. Not the diners who once whispered in awe of his name. Zariah didn't move. Her body trembled, but not from fear, from something else. Something like pride. And then, softly at first, the clapping began. Not everyone clapped, but enough. One table started it, then another. Then the entire left side of the room joined in. It wasn't thunderous. It wasn't loud. But it was real. And Sterling? He left. No final tantrum, no dessert, no last glare, just silence. An hour later, Zariah stood in the back office in a fresh shirt, her apron neatly folded on the desk. Roland handed her a folder labeled Management. "I know you didn't come here looking for a fight," he said gently. She nodded. "But I wasn't about to let someone throw wine at me and walk out smiling." He smiled. "That's exactly why you're staying." She hesitated. "You're sure?" He motioned toward the dining room. "You gave everyone in this place permission to breathe. You didn't just stand up for yourself. You stood up for every single person who's ever swallowed their pride because they felt they had to." Zariah exhaled, her voice soft. "Thank you." By the next day, the video had gone viral. A diner had posted it with the caption, "She finally said what we were all thinking." The clip of Zariah, soaked in wine, standing tall, calling out Sterling Ward's cruelty, racked up over 2 million views in just 24 hours. The comments poured in, "She's a hero. Why do the rich think they own decency?" Roland Hale did the right thing. Respect. She better be running that place by next week. News outlets called, talk shows requested interviews. And Sterling? Well, silence had never been so loud. Within a week, 2 major business sponsors publicly cut ties with Sterling Ward's real estate firm, citing patterned abuse and reputational risk. His name became a warning. Zariah's became a spark. Back at Le Bon Repas, things had changed. The air felt lighter. The staff stood taller. Laughter returned to the kitchen. And near the entrance, every guest now passed a small gold plaque mounted beside the front desk. "Respect is the dress code." Manager, Zariah Coleman. She didn't become rich. She didn't chase fame. But what she did earn was something far greater. Freedom. Freedom from silence. Freedom from shame. Freedom to stand, not just for herself, but for anyone who had ever been afraid to speak. And the city? It finally learned that courage isn't always loud. It's not always in yelling back. Sometimes courage is simply refusing to bow. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.